Find a book, buy a book, check the book out of the library. But Friday, when you come into class Friday, I want you to bring me handwritten the answers at the back of the chapters for 2, 3, and 4. Okay? The chapters are 4 or 5 pages. There's 4 or 5 questions. But nobody is getting litigation like they should be. So 2, 3, and 4 covers litigation. Borrow a book, get a book, share a book. But the back of the chapters are some questions, and bring me handwritten the answer to those questions for chapters 2, 3, and 4. Okay, chapter 6. Criminal law. Now, I do not focus much on chapter 5, which is the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution is in the back of your book, in the very, very back. It's only about 10 pages. The only thing you need from the Constitution is the 4th, the 5th, and the 14th amendments. Those are the 3 amendments, the 4th and the 5th, part of the Bill of Rights. The 14th came about 20 or 30 years later and talks about due process. Those are the 3 constitutional amendments that will up your grade. I won't give you a test where you need to name them, but when we do criminal law, if there's a spot that you can name one of the amendments, your grade goes up. All right? Now, here's a 5-minute lesson on the United States Constitution. I took it for a year in law school. You can take it for a full semester here from Dr. Lambrese or from Dr. Roost. Constitution is 20-something pages. It's not real complicated. It's the greatest document ever written by man. But when the Constitution was written in 1782, you don't have to know these dates, just listen. The war was in 1776, the Americans win. 1782, the Americans say, we need a government. We need a government. Right? And what they put in the Constitution was, we don't want the rest of the Americans to treat us the same way the British soldiers did. So if the British soldiers were hungry, what did they do? They'd come to your farm and take your food, take your pigs. If the British soldiers' horse was shot out from under them, they would come to your farm and steal your horse. So, because of that, we have the 4th Amendment, which is search and seizure. You can't seize, the government can't seize your pig without having a warrant from a judge. If you got arrested by the British soldiers, they put you in jail. You may sit there and rot because there was no bail. So the 6th Amendment is you get bail. The 8th Amendment, you get an attorney. All of these we take for granted, but they're all because that's what the British soldiers did. The British government was on the other side of the ocean, but the British soldiers did whatever they had to do to live. Could you stand on the street corner and say, you know, King George is a jerk? No, you'd be arrested. So we have the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Could you go to your own church, or did you have to go to an Anglican church? You had to go to an Anglican church, or else they put you in jail. So we've got freedom of religion. Everything that deals with business, everything that deals with us personally in the Constitution comes from Americans not wanting to give the American government the same power that the British government had. Now, the other things in the Constitution that don't have anything with business that you'll learn in other courses. But the 4th, 5th, and the 14th are the ones that we're really concerned about. The 4th has 4 things. The 5th, believe it or not, has 5 things. Just pure coincidence. The 14th, they put all of these things in our Constitution, and then they find out they're not working real well. There's no way to enforce it. There's still, people are still getting put in jail. They still not have freedom of speech. So the 14th covers everything else and gives what's called due process. And due process is a big word, a word you need to put on exams. Due process means fair. And so in addition to what's in the amendments, the 14th Amendment says everything has to be fair. You have to use due process. All right? Now, in addition to doing the questions in your in the book that I just assigned you, by next class, I'll just take your word for it. I'll ask you to raise your hand, but by next class, I want you to write down the 4 and the 5 that are on the 4th and the 5th. Okay? You don't even have to turn them in. I'll just trust you. I want you to look them up. Okay, that's pretty much all of it for Chapter 5. Criminal Law, Chapter 6. Jurisdiction of criminal law is the same way as civil. You have federal and state. The federal is the Supreme Court, the Circuit Court, and the District Court. State Court is the South Carolina Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, and the Circuit Court. Now, let me tell you an easy way to tell the difference. State court is police, sheriff, and SLED, State Law Enforcement Division in South Carolina. Federal court is FBI. If I tell you that the FBI has come to arrest you, then you know it's federal jurisdiction. In addition to that, federal jurisdiction is going to be any of the alphabet agencies. You remember the alphabet agencies? All right, we've got IRS. We got the Environmental Protection Authority on pollution. We got the Clean Water Act. All of those alphabet guys, all those alphabet people can arrest you for a crime in federal court just like the FBI can. State court is going to be Newberry City Police, Newberry County Sheriff, or the State Law Enforcement Division. In Georgia, it's called the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Every state has their own police. Now, source of law. What were the 3 sources of law? Common, statutory, judicial. Regulatory, excuse me. Criminal law is not common. Judges don't make up criminal law. Okay, the judge down at the courthouse can't decide, I think I'm going to change the speed limit to 60 from 55. Now, that would be common law. Criminal law is statutory and sometimes regulatory, but mainly statutory. That is written down laws, written down on a piece of paper, in a book, that says what kind of pollution you can have, how fast you can drive, what kind of, whether you have to pay your taxes or not, whether you can steal or not. Those are all written down laws. Now, TV and movies, you always hear people talking about what is the motive. And you got these detectives sitting around drinking coffee, and they're all trying to decide what the motive is. All right? I did criminal law for 18 years. I don't think I ever heard anybody say the word motive. That's a TV thing. What you do here mens rea, mental for men's, Latin. Which means intent, or actus, Latin for action. Somebody has intentionally broken the law, or they have unintentionally broken the law. It doesn't matter if they do it intentionally or not. At this point it doesn't. It might matter later on when we get ready to have them sentenced. But at this point, they either intentionally did it, they had mens rea, or they had actus rea, which means they did something that was against the law, which caused a crime. So, when you get a traffic ticket, the little blue traffic ticket that South Carolina uses, that's an arrest warrant. That's what that is. But just forget about the traffic tickets, because that's kind of rinky-dinky anyway. If you have mens rea, if you have committed a crime, if you have failed to pay taxes, corporate taxes, Corporation A failed to pay their taxes, mens rea. Yes, they intentionally did it. Are they arrested? When are they arrested? In criminal law, the police, the FBI, cannot arrest you without an arrest warrant unless they see the crime being committed. That's why so often on TV, if there's an FBI show, they'll bring somebody in and they'll put them in the interrogation room and they'll talk to them, and then they let them go because they don't have an arrest warrant. And that, based on what they talked about, then they go get an arrest warrant and they pick them up a second time, right? You see that all the time. And the chief of detectives will come down, why'd you let them go? Well, I don't have a warrant. So unless you saw it happen, then the IRS is going to go to a judge and show probable cause. That's a big time word. You need to know probable cause. need to know probable cause, you need to know mens rea, you need to know actus rea, and you need to know the jurisdiction. Probable cause is they go to a judge, a federal judge in this case, and they say, we want to arrest the CEO of Corporation A. We want to seize their computers, we want to seize their accounting. And the judge says, well, why do you want to do that? Well, you know, he's driving 3 Mercedes and he's got 4 homes and we think they're not paying taxes. And the judge says, that's not enough. That's not enough. So the IRS comes back and says, okay, here's the taxes for the last 20 years. Here's the taxes for the last 2 years. They haven't paid any. And the judge says, okay, then they probably haven't paid their taxes, and that gives me a reason to give you an arrest warrant. So with probable cause, they get an arrest warrant. And you will find that in the 4th and 5th Amendment. Included in the arrest warrant, okay, they go to the judge first and ask for a search warrant, which is going to be in the 4th Amendment. They then go in and they seize all the computers, and they seize all the books, and they may get the names of all of the accountants, and so they go back to the judge. This time, they go back to the judge with what was seized, and he gives them the arrest warrant. First the search warrant, then the arrest warrant. The search warrant is the 4th Amendment. The arrest warrant is the 5th Amendment. All right, now, at some point, the people that got arrested, the CEO or the whoever was involved, the accountants or whoever was not paying their taxes, at some point, the attorney's going to say, you've got to let me go because you haven't followed due process. You didn't go to a judge. And the IRS says, yes, we did. Here's his signature. You didn't have probable cause. Yes, we did. Here's what we took to him. Okay? Every step in a criminal proceeding, from the first seizure of records to the arrest, all the way through to trial, has to be fair, has to have due process. Remember what I told you about time equals money? What did I say about time equals money? When we did the litigation? That's always the right answer. Okay? If you get stuck and you're doing litigation, time equals money is always, you just throw that in there and that gets you rolling again. All right? The same thing with criminal law. If you get stuck doing criminal law, just throw in there, we got to have due process. And that's never a wrong answer. That'll get you started rolling again. All right. We got a search warrant, we got an arrest warrant. Now you would think we go to trial, right? No. We have a grand jury, which is 18 people. Confidential. Only the prosecutor, only the district attorney goes to the grand jury. The defendant doesn't go to the grand jury. All lawyers don't go to the grand jury. The prosecutor goes to the grand jury and tells those 18 people, we want to charge Corporation A and their CEO with failure to pay taxes. And this is why. And the grand jury, 18 people that meet in secret, all right, if they come back with what's called a true bill, then the arrest changes into a charge. So look at all the steps. Okay? First of all, you got to have the mens rea. Then you got to have probable cause to get a search warrant. That's 2. Then you got to have probable cause to get an arrest warrant. That's 3. Then you got to have grand jury come back with a true bill. That's 4. Then you got to take what they did and actually charge somebody with a crime. Okay, so it's a lengthy process. It can't happen over a week, but normally it's a month or 2 months. So what crimes are we talking about? Failure to pay taxes, that's terrible. Failure to pay tax. Embezzlement. Fraud. Intentional injury. Discrimination. And there are 1,000 others, but those are the ones that an example of what I would put on a test. I don't expect you to know what the elements are of embezzlement are. I'll just tell you that they're charged with embezzlement, or I'll tell you that they haven't paid taxes. So you might want to look those words up, but I'm not looking for you to define them. I'm just looking for you to be able to say, yeah, if I say if there's fraud, that you're able to go through the process, all the way through the process. Now, we'll look a little bit Wednesday on where it goes from here, and when it goes to the jury, how the jury decides in a criminal case. We'll do that on Wednesday. I'll tell you now, though, and I'll reiterate this on Wednesday, I don't want to know who wins. Right? I don't want to know they are found guilty. They are found not guilty. I want you to give me the process. The district attorney would then go to the grand jury and would get a true bill or not. If they got a true bill, they would have an arrest warrant. They served the arrest warrant. We then would go to trial and go all the way down to the jury, and you'll say the jury would come back guilty or not guilty. I have year after year, semester after semester, somebody tells me there was mens rea and they were obviously guilty. Down at trial. And that's not good enough. All right, any questions on anything we did? All right. Remember, you got to do the chapter 2, 3, and 4. The answers, it's not a lot of work. Do that for me. Also look up the 4th and 5th Amendment. Be sure that you can have that written down somewhere.